Who? Space who? Wild measles. Yeah. What? You want to be on the show? Let me talk to my boss. All right. Bye.
The moose is loose.
Hey folks, welcome to the show, our show with no name. That's what we're calling ourselves right now, as portrayed by Clint Eastwood. Joining me is our intrepid co-host, the Cecil B. DeMille of Wargaming, Dan the Dancing Man. And our special guest today is Bruce Geryk, also known as Space Rumsfeld, as played by Clint Eastwood. So, Bruce, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Bruce, what do you mean good morning?
Isn't it morning in Canada? I can never keep that straight.
It's Canada.
Is it,
man, it's
is it
7:30 in the evening, man.
Is it that it's how deep was the snow today, Dan?
What? There's no snow today, man.
There's no snow today? Okay.
No.
Are you sure
And
in Canada?
I want to ask Bruce a question right away, right off the bat, just to clear things right off the bat there, get it off the table.
Yes.
Look, I understand why you call yourself Wild Measles because you're a doctor, but why Space Rumsfeld?
It's just like Donald Rumsfeld in space. I think it speaks for itself. There's no explanation necessary.
That's
Is this
fair.
the way this is gonna go? Is this the way this is gonna go?
Probably. I mean, depending on you. You ask me those questions. I just answer the questions. That was the question. That's the answer. I can't change facts, right? I mean, that's how it is. That's how the world is.
Far be it from us to correct the historical record.
That's right.
Ardy, help me here. Help me.
So, Bruce, you are responsible, so I'm told, for the Wild Weasel podcast, which has been around for quite a while, and you've had a lot of very illustrious guests that don't answer my emails. How long have you been doing that?
Gosh, that's a good question. I'd have to look it up. Probably. I mean, I think the first episode was in 20. You know, I have no freaking idea. I don't know. You'd have to ask a war game historian. It's been at least 7 years, but then, I mean, there were a few years where I didn't do one. Like, I think there was none in 2022. I think there was one in 2020. It started out as this thing was going to be every couple weeks or every month, and then it didn't work out that way. But
so what happened? What happened?
You guys happened. I mean, the hobby happened. Everybody started having their own podcast. I only really, and this is to be perfectly honest with you. I remember I was on Board Game Geek. Sorry, Consum World guys, but I was.
But seriously, welcome to the 19th century.
Yeah, I tell you. And so I was just, I was on Board Game Geek, and I read a thread, and it said something like, are there any war game podcasts? And I think this is before YouTube became, so widely used. I mean, there was still, I think, people didn't have camera. Well, everybody had cameras, but the point is that the penetration of high-end sort of audio and video and the price points hadn't come down, and just wasn't popular. So audio was still the main thing, and in the hobby. And somebody said, "Hey, where are the war game podcasts? There are none. There used to be this and there used to be that." And hi, John. Nice to see you. Yes, that was the Mark. Mark is still ruining the day. But anyway, so the thing was, I said, well, I love war games, and there are no good podcasts. So maybe still won't be no good podcasts, but there can be a podcast. So I thought, well, hey, let's talk about all the things in wargaming that people aren't talking about. I remember there was a show called Heavy Cardboard that I listened to, and they kind of occasionally, they were in the heavier Euros, and I thought it was a great show, but it just didn't cover the stuff that I wanted to listen to, and then I went looking for a show, and there were none, and so I got one. So and then I realized that It was a lot of work. The thing I really wanted, I hated missing out on all these pre-orders and whatever not of these games that, 5 minutes after the announcement goes up, it's like, well, you're sold out. And I'm like, how can you be sold out? You got to print more. Like, no, because that does, that disturbs the matrix, right? I mean, you've got all these things. It has to seem like it's, if there are only 10 copies printed, then of course, you'll sell out in 5 minutes.
Fabrizio will be outraged by this.
Exactly. Well,
what is he talking about?
Yeah. So the point is, I kept feeling bad about that. So I said, well, why don't I have a show where I go through all that stuff? And all right, Kilroy, yes, Kilroy. Thank you, Kilroy. Have a steak for me. Put some blue cheese on it. I just thought I'd do it. I'd do it every now and then. So I do it often enough to keep myself from missing out on these pre-orders. And then it just seemed like at some point, I'm not. It much to everybody's probably great disbelief. I'm not somebody that just likes to hear myself talk. So all these people started having really good shows. I mean, Grant Alexander, you guys, Mo, all these shows came out. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, Heavy Cardboard's definitely still out there. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that was a thing that brought.
Yeah, I actually met him at Origins a few years.
Oh yeah,
pre-COVID, I guess.
Okay,
so it was a few years ago now, but nice.
It was Ed, I think. I think his name was Ed.
Edward.
Yeah.
Edward. Yeah.
No, he's pretty mellow actually. I suspect he's from a state that has legalized marijuana.
Okay,
I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, so.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm
that's
subscribed to Heavy Cardboard,
and so do I.
Yeah.
So that's that. That's the reason. And then I just couldn't. Beyond Solitaire does Wargames, sure. And then there's some Mark Johnson does Wargames to Go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's plenty. There's stuff out now, and I started thinking like, the whole organizing principle of it was I was going to tell people about Wargame news because there wasn't any coming out. And then as more people came out, I thought, I don't need to do that because I'm just listening to those other shows. And then it became like, well, Bruce should do, then I was like, well, what can I talk about? And I have all these opinions, but I mean, everybody's got opinions. I mean, who cares?
Yeah,
right?
but your opinions are different. And because you're a debonair type of guy, opinions. We listen, you know what I mean?
I mean, okay, that's fine. The other thing that happened, I got to tell you, the other thing that happened was I started realizing that a lot of people, there's a decreasing, it's like diminishing returns to all these opinions about these games. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do with the time? And so I thought, well, I think I could better do sort of, musings on games that I played, because to me, the whole point of this, I mean, I know a lot of people solitaire, and that's fine. That's great. I'm not trying, for me personally, okay, only for me personally, it's really the connection to the other person that I'm playing with, even if it's, virtual. I try to solitaire things. I get bored, and the same game that, I will. I can do that in a second.
I'm not sure you got to talk me into playing Last Gamble.
So you just watch a video. There's some guy did a video on that, and you should see it because it's pretty good. I've been told. But as soon as I start playing the same game that made me bored with a friend, I'm just all over it. Like I just want to, this is the move, this is the thing. We talk about it, and so I thought maybe I would do, experiences that I had playing games, and then I played more games, and then there were too many experiences. And I was like, you know what? I don't have a focus for this. So I thought, you know what? Let's just shelve it for a while. And then I got really busy, and and those things happened. And then the pandemic, and then I don't know. For a time there, I wasn't playing games in person because of the pandemic. So I don't really vassal. Although that's changed. That's really changed. I found this is Can I just tell you the story? I feel like I'm
by all
talking
means.
The whole time. So I found a guy. Okay, I know a guy. I found a guy. I talked to a guy who, Rob, thank you, who basically had written a bunch of articles about the Russian campaign, which I read in like high school, right? And this is like the 70s that the articles were written. Probably read in the 80s. And I looked and I found out that, he was a Pacific Northwestern guy. He actually had his address from in the General, in one of the articles saying, if you ever want to play by mail, send me a line. And so I found him on Board Game Geek and sent him a message and said, hey, you ever play the Russian campaign? And he's like, of course, yeah. And I said, well, would you want to play? And he's like, of course. So I've been having a great time playing the Russian campaign on Vassal. We sent it by email, but it just kind of that connection with and he, by the way, we're playing back and forth sets. I was the Russians the first time. He killed me. I'm middle of 42. I'm dead. So we've switched now. I'm the Germans, but that kind of was. And I could never solitaire the Russian campaign. I mean, I actually tried to before we played. I set it up and I started doing little moves, and I'm like, I can't. It didn't hold me. But now playing against somebody, I look at the moves and I'm like, oh, I could go there. I could go do this. It's really a joy to play against somebody, especially somebody who knows how to play well. And so that's what gaming to me is all about. And I want to try to bring that out in some way. And I'm not quite sure how to do it, because the other aspect of it, of course, is the history part that I really like, and I think it comes out in the videos that I do. And I'm doing an Eastern Front video thing, but it's turned into this huge mess. There's just too much material. I don't know what to do, and it's who knows, but we'll see it sometime. I mean, if they can, if they can make a movie out of Berlin Alexanderplatz, then I guess I can make a.
So Bruce, you're more of a strategic player, right?
What do you mean by that?
I mean your scope, your scale is strategic, right?
I don't know. I mean, I play Band Squad Leader, so I'm a big ASL player. Although I haven't played
Are
ASL.
You still?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, am I? I mean, you'll always be one, right? There's nobody who played it who's not an ASL player, unless they renounce it, right? If you go, you can go. It's like when you go to the embassy and hand in your passport and say, I'm renouncing my citizenship and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can do that.
You're right.
With ASL, but you got to do it, right? Otherwise, you're forever in the club. It doesn't go away. So I'm still an ASL player. I think I actually played a few years ago with my friend Ken, but I think that was the last time I played. But I still buy all the stuff, right? I mean, some third market something guy, campaign game of somebody's bathroom remodel, I'll do it, right? So it's a sickness kind of, but
Q4 from Dan.
I'm all in. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And Bruce, how many you got a shelf full of games?
Games? What do you mean? Shelf full of games?
Games, for God's sakes, man.
No, I buy one game at a time. When I'm done with it, I throw it out and I buy another game.
That's not
ASL, obviously.
That's not very ASL of you.
I have a shelf full of games. What would I have? I mean, do I have a box full of them? I mean, do I have them in?
For God's sakes, man! Just answer the question.
I have a shelf, and I also have another shelf. Is that too? I mean, I feel like I'm in a deposition.
Let me read you a little bit. I was about to say something that would get political, and I don't want to. So. I guess what Dan's trying to get after is, do you have a lot of games? By your own definition, whatever that
No, I don't. I don't have a lot of games. By my own definition, absolutely not. And no way. I don't have a lot of games.
By his own definition.
My own definition.
Maybe I should send you some games, because I have a lot.
Yeah, Scott, I've played with ASL guys. Yeah, down at Guardian Games. Absolutely. Yeah, good group.
Mm-hmm.
You're a fun guy, Bruce.
By my wife's definition, I have way too many games. So I mean, what's the I don't know what the metric is here. By the way, I don't know. I mean, how many games Sid Saxon had? He had like,
oh God,
yeah, he had a lot of them.
Did he have too many games? I feel like I'm asking Richard Feynman a question. Like,
here's a quote from my niece, my sister's daughter. Said my sister said to her, she's in high school, and said, maybe do you have too many games? And she said, no, there's no such thing as too many games, except for maybe Uncle Bruce. So
forget I asked. Forget
Everybody's
I
going
will.
to have
Okay, strike the record. You can edit this
Forget
part
I
out.
asked.
Everybody's going to have their own definition of that, right? But
Yeah.
Kilroy's got probably 2 or 3 times as many games as I have,
Like
and I
how
feel like
big
I
is
got
too
too many.
big? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I don't know.
Everybody's going to make that decision for themselves.
There's no statute.
What? Well, right. There's not like a membership, like a scoreboard, right?
Scoreboard.
Yeah.
There kind of is. There now you
So-
got Gary. There kind of is, right? I mean, people are always like, "How many games do you have?" Well, I have
Can
you
you
have
just
400.
be
I have
normal?
400.
Yeah, that's
Can you
fair.
just be
That's-
normal? Be
that's actually
normal.
true. Although I think
Okay.
it's more people posting shelfies nowadays than comparing actual numbers.
Yeah,
And
shelfies are good.
I
Shelfies are
can
good.
compete
Everything's
with
about
shelfies.
the bling, the image. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what?
I have
So
a
you're
blank wall right here. See, it's blank. There's nothing.
Are you? That's a missed opportunity, is what I call that. I would have games on that wall,
Okay.
but literally between this room and the next room over there, all the walls are filled with shelves of games. So that's my definition of I got
Unless
too
there's
many
something
games,
better to put there, that sounds good.
is that there's just not enough shelf space for more games.
You know, Bruce, I'm afraid to ask you what type of music you listen to.
Music.
Holy shit!
Wow. I
Yeah.
listen
You better.
mostly.
I'm
listen-
going to be very disappointed if Hawkwind is not in this list.
I
No,
listen to
Hawkwind better be
mostly
there. Let me.
mostly like Canadian jazz, but a lot of like French Canadian kind of Quebec
Like
kind
John
of
Tesh.
oriented content. Yeah. CBC radio.
Dan's on strike. So I guess it's up to me at this point. So I'm not even kidding, man. Michael Moorcock wrote whole albums for Hawkwind and
Yeah,
performed with them
Hawkwood
on
is
tour at
fine.
one
I mean,
point.
it's fine. I've listened to a lot of music in my time. I listen to a lot of ambient now, things with not a lot of lyrics. But then I like, there was a whole.
Some composers of ambient music.
Like, how about Emancipator?
This is my blank stare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian Eno, and that's
Harold Budd.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that's everybody listens to Harold Budd and Brian Eno. I mean, there's no point. I mean, Dead Can
Really?
Dance. Ooh, yeah, that's
Really,
great.
everybody listens to that, eh?
I was never into them.
Never into Dead Can Dance?
No,
Yeah,
not
it's more
really.
world
Dead Can
music
Dance,
than
of
ambient.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, there's what they did a fine. Whoever from that band did a fine job helping out with the Gladiator soundtrack with Hans Zimmer, but other
Zimmer.
than
It was
that,
either Brendan Perry or Lisa Gerard.
at least it was Lisa Gerard.
Okay.
Hans Zimmer's the mafia of music.
So, well, he does everything, so including play
Oh,
rock
shit.
music and live in concert. So,
He was his band was called the Muggles, the
Buggles.
video
Buggles.
killed the radio. Star
Yeah, they
Buggles.
did.
Yeah, it was.
Hans Zimmer?
He was in that band.
Hans Zimmer
And it
was in the
was-
Buggles. Seriously?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yes. I know that. Did you know that?
TIL.
I suppose
And-
so.
and-
Yeah.
And what about
I like Rush. Absolutely. Rush is great. So is Dio. So is Rainbow.
Stop
Dio,
trying
yeah.
to get to my heart.
The late.
Stop trying to get to my heart.
It
I
must
know
be
what you're
referred
trying to
to
do.
as
I
the
know what
late
you're
great
trying to
Ronnie
do,
James
Bruce.
Dio.
How about the Guess Who? Weren't they Canadian?
Were they? I mean, Canada may have disowned them. To be fair,
Uh,
and we're talking about a country that has I think Anne
How about-
Murray's on the money.
You know who this is serious. You know who I really like is Boards of Canada.
Yeah, I like them. Yes, I do. And you know what? Going to Boards of Canada, Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Sounds good. Good. Oh, hot dry season. Everybody go to Legion Wargames and just click on a hot dry season. Get it pre-done. I just would. One of these days, when I get really like inebriated, which is very very rarely, I keep thinking I'm going to write Randy at Legion an email like, how many do you need? I'll just buy the rest of them and just put it on the thing and just do it. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. So everybody just buy it.
And if you want to see how it plays, I have playthrough video in the channel. It's great. I've been recommending it to people for years, but apparently not enough people listening.
Not enough people.
Talking about the Legion War Games, you did a great video on Dien Bien Phu.
The Final Gamble.
That was very very good. very well edited,
Thank you.
and very entertaining, sir. Very.
That's
entertaining.
the whole point. That's the whole point, and that's what's going to be. Yeah, Mr. Tambourine Man is an
pinnacle
all-time great. I have that on CD actually. I think
the
actually
Canadian
that's not a
musical
lie.
art.
I have that on CD. Yeah, I mean the whole point of that stuff is to explore the history, and the problem with those videos is that every time I felt like there was more I could do and I could make it better, and now I've gotten to a point where I don't feel like I can do something with. And there's so much. I mean, there's so much really good video out there now. Like I think at the time, I think I hit that sweet spot where I sort of
Just not here, folks.
Well, my sort of maximum output skills were not too far behind the cutting edge for war games, but now it's all just, you
have a voice, man, and it's very interesting, and I love to listen to you as I'm going to sleep.
Oh, thank you. That sounds great. Yeah, that's yeah, it's perfect. That's what I'm intending. What I'm intending. Yeah, Nickelback. You guys. Yeah, you're on your own with Nickelback.
And okay, Bruce.
Yeah.
Let's get real here. Let's get real.
Real.
Okay?
Here we go.
Your last podcast.
Here we go.
Before this podcast was like 2 years ago or something,
Sure.
or 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
No, 2 years. It was not 4 years ago. I promise you, it was only about 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, you're the numbers man. You know what I mean? You're the intellect here.
That's why I'm the numbers guy. That's what they call me.
Aspire. You spoke about Marco Arnaudo, and you were
that podcast.
You weren't very complimentary.
And I'd like to welcome our second special guest of the evening, Marco Arnaudo. Welcome, Marco.
Now the guy obviously we know that the guy does videos, this and this and this and that, and he's very well versed in games, right?
Yeah, sure.
He's very well versed in the mechanics.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to play the game. He reads the sequence of play and he knows the game, right? But you saw him do that. You saw him do that, and basically you told him in Italian. What you told him in Italian amounts to this.
So here's the deal. That's not the reason. The only thing that I objected to it really in that podcast was that people who enjoy a certain type of game somehow need to change, or they are not relevant, or they're dinosaurs, or it was kind of like knock yourself out, but nobody's going to want to play with you in 10 years. And I'm like, you know what? That's kind of prescriptive stuff, right? I mean, I know that seems to be, I don't know if people feel like because they're on, I never want to tell people what to enjoy. And it feels really just out of place and rude. And that kind of, there are certain games I don't really, certain types of games I don't like, but I'm not going to, knock yourself out, play them. I'll just talk about this. And I'll find people that I want to play the games. I mean, there are tons of people that look at they come down and look at my game shelf, right? The one shelf I have that has, the two games on it, the one that I'm playing and the one that I'm going to play next, right? Because then they throw out that one and then go. So, and they're like, what show me this. And I show them and they're like, wow, that's great. And I'll never want to touch that. That's nuts. And then you show them something simpler and like, oh, or not even simpler, just different. Or they don't even like history, right? They don't want history in the game. They want to have, a farm is much better for them. Great, super. I mean, so play it, but don't
make a fan.
Don't tell people to that they're going to be dinosaurs, because it just feels like there's no reason, right? And it's a sort of a self-aggrandizement, which I don't like. But I mean, I never thought about it. It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion.
And the thing is, Bruce, you being the calm, collected, logical man that you are, why did that get to you? And why did you have to spew your opinion? Why did that matter?
Why? Because it bothered me. I don't know. I mean, I'm not very introspective. I don't really know why I do things. It's feel like I'm like this. This random event machine that just walks around and does things. And then it's like, why did you do that? I don't know. Because I could roll to 12. I don't know.
It was hard not to take Marco's delivery of that. What I thought he was.
It was
trying
dismissive.
To say in that show.
It was dismissive,
and I just don't feel that there's any place in. You can disagree. You can pick up a game and say, I don't like this. It does this, and this. This is not. I think that's not good. I don't enjoy doing these things. You can actually be very specific in your game criticism, and that's fine. And you can even dislike a game and say that you think it's a bad game. But as soon as you tell somebody else that for some reason they are, that their enjoyment of that is somehow invalid because you've disproven it, that's a prescriptive attitude, which is it's disrespect towards the people.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, and I
agree with you 100%.
Disrespect is the
Sergeant
thing I really
Johnson from the fun police is at the door. I'll be right back.
Right. Yeah, Tony. Yeah, Tony, you're right. Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong here. I mean, there's some things that I think are not. I mean, I think are in poor taste. But then I say that I think things in poor taste, or that. But the fact that you are. Just the way it was delivered was kind of like, if you like this, you're, just wait.
You're a dinosaur. Yeah, right.
I mean, why?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Why be disrespectful? I don't know.
We're in an interesting position right now because we have, the dynamics changing, the demographics changing, but at the same time, I have no doubt that the same kinds of stuff that I like to play right now is going to live longer than I am.
Yeah.
So, and probably all three of us. So, so our games are fine. We just have to kind of work on the people skills a little bit sometimes.
I think that's true.
Christ. First of all, but people
like that exchange, like like that's the people skills there, right? I mean,
I hate to say it there, but in general, there. I don't know. Maybe I've been watching too much YouTube, Karens and all that shit. But Jesus Christ, people have to get out of elementary school, for fuck's sakes. They got no social skills whatsoever. They don't know how to speak to a person. Man, seriously.
I mean,
I don't think that's what
come on.
I do think that the ways in which we interact interpersonally are changing because of the internet. And some people maybe aren't quite up to speed. I'm not quite up to speed. So
I don't have any. I've not had any problems with people personally, and or sometimes you. But I mean, you have problems with everybody. It's not just gaming, right? I mean, somebody at the grocery store is just. I mean, it's people are people, and you sort of select out the people that you don't want to spend time with, and you spend time with the people you want to. And I mean, that's so
disappointing. It's so disappointing.
Human.
And you
but
know what?
Not surprising.
It's disappointing. I'm disappointed in the human race.
Okay.
Welcome
Noted.
to the club. Yeah. So, Bruce, what kind, other than Russian campaign, what kinds of games attract you? Either for mechanically or topically or whatever.
Well, ones with really high quality components.
Components do matter.
No, that was kind of a.
I knew it. I know. That's why. I'm gullible a little bit there, but not too much.
But I appreciate good graphic design. I'm not going to play a game for the graphic design ever. That'll fail. And I play games despite what I think is substandard graphic design. But what kind of game? I mean, any game that tells a good story is really like that's. I think that's the thing about about Kim Kanger's Final Gamble, right? We are getting old. Everybody's getting old. So are you, the one true phlegm. You're getting old too. Just
the old phlegm.
Yeah. We're all getting old. It's okay. We accept it. We all accept the idea of getting old. But I think it tells a good story. I love the Final Gamble story. Kim is a really great designer to telling stories. If you haven't played Ici C'est la France, I know it's required, I think, in Quebec, but if you haven't played it in other parts of the world, that's a great story that it tells, and he does such a good job. Tonkin is just amazing the way he captures a campaign. So I mean, all those things, and those games are different, right? I mean, Final Gamble is really a tactical game in the end. Tonkin is an operational game, so is EC. I don't play that many tactical games because, to be honest, I like the specificity of situation. So if you make a tactical game about what was that one? what's the game? Operation.
Operation with the magnets.
Yes, and you have to don't get the heart because it kills you. It's going to kill you, right?
I was going to ask, is that how you started?
Yeah, so it's how I got into it. Oh gosh, I can't remember. It's the same designer. See, this is the thing. I need to write down a bunch of notes for myself before, but I know what I'm going to talk about. Red Winter. Who's
Operation Dauntless is
Dauntless. Yes, Dauntless. I was going to say Operation Veritable. Operation Dauntless. That's a tactical game, isn't it?
Yes, I'd say so.
Yeah, I think it is. But it's a very specific situation, right? And so you play that, and I think that there's a bias against those games now because you play the game and then that's the game, right? And all tactical situations tend to play the same way, and there's not a lot of scope in the tactical situation, right? The game is over. Whereas in the Russian campaign, you're going to play so many turns. Things have a long way to go, and the situation you can have this huge thing where Leningrad falls and you're taking Moscow, and then Stalingrad's holding out, or the whole push can be in the south. But I think tactical games, because of the tactical situation, the limiting factors there, it keeps the game from diverging too much. And so you play that game a few times and you sort of hone. It's like an ASL scenario, right? The great thing about ASL scenarios is they can play different ways, but if you get bored of that, you can always play a different ASL scenario. But tactical games,
there's a few different ones.
A couple. I know that I'm just talking about stuff in the box. I only came with like 8 scenarios, right? So
something like that.
Eventually run out. I know that. But with the tactical games, they're so specific that you don't pull them out a lot. It just feels like you're playing them. There's not this sense of playing them over and over. Where in the old days you only had the game, so people became masters of a game because there were only a certain number of games, and so there aren't that many tactical games out that. And I don't like. I shouldn't say I don't like the geomorphic kind of. This is the situation that I've made out of a game map. It just doesn't grab me the same way that a game designed with a lot of. I love the history, so I love the maps. Game I love at any cost. Mets. I think I talked about it in the last podcast.
Herman's game.
And I think Terry Leeds did the map art. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, and it's so aesthetically. Put together, just beautiful design, and the system is great, and so that's I guess that's a tactical game. That's a tactical game of the 1870s, right? So maybe I do like to anything that's specific. I don't like generics. That's the thing that I kind of don't. I don't like for Euros. I don't like abstracts, and I don't like generics. So I think those are the two things that I don't really like. But if you put some kind of historical thing on it, make it specific enough, and show me that you did some research, I'll play it.
Are you playing anything right now besides Russian campaign?
So here's a I don't know if I'm playing it. My friend Ken, I'm gonna rope him into doing. We set stuff up on my big table occasionally, and then he comes and we pound on it for a day or two. I have Frank Chadwick's Fire in the East set up on the table.
Thunder in the East.
No, Fire in the East.
No, sir. No.
Fire in the
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry, I said something wrong.
No, Thunder in the East is Frank basically realizing that nobody's going to play the Europa Series again.
Frank's probably not in the Europa group on Facebook because it's surprisingly populated.
Is it?
And active, yeah.
Oh, well.
And you know what? We got it scheduled for 2024. Our 2024 schedule includes Fire in the East plus Scorched Earth.
So, in Scorched Earth. Okay, well, you tell me how far you get because
that depends who's playing the Soviets.
Well, you're an OCS guy, right? So you can if there aren't 12 counters in the stack, then you're looking for under the table if you forgot some, right?
Yeah, who knocked the stack over?
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous.
I don't know if I can handle that, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's only 6 maps, right?
Fire in the East is 6 maps. I think I've got Scorched Earth. I've never set it up because Fire in the East it fits well on the table as there's room, but I can't go to the side. Mm-hmm. So War in the East, the SBI War in the East also fits on the same table. It's actually a little bigger, mm-hmm. but I got Fire in the East set up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, I thought that was the greatest game when I was, 15, 16, was I 16, 17? I was Miss 17 probably when it came out. And I mean, I had tiny fingers and really good vision, and I don't now. And so, I mean, I'm looking at the setup. I'm looking at the setup for this game, right? Yeah, I've got 2 sets. I got the set with the little light. Hey, I'm all there, right? But it's still like,
oh Christ!
And there's, I'm looking at the setup, and of course, this is the old days where it cost like $100 million to put a picture of a counter in the document, right? I mean, you had to bring in a different typesetter, like some guy from Nebraska had to like fly in to like do the thing, and then you'd print it and would go to to New York, and then so you couldn't do that stuff. So all the setup is like this little tiny text. It's like what Carl Fung does with his freaking here's Iron Curtain. Oh yeah, we'll set up this guy and this guy and this guy, and you got a little type. It's like, can we just have like a setup sheet like we had in the old days? But you can't fit that. I mean, that would take like 20 pages, and you can't do it. So I'm sitting there squinting and like here, and then I come up with like 30 counters, right? And it says set these guys up within 3 hexes of this and this, and I'm like, that's only like 6 hexes. Yeah. So all these things go in these 6 hexes. That's like, I mean, what am I doing? I mean,
welcome to the Europa stacking rule.
Yeah. So I mean, okay,
Bruce. But
that's okay. So it's the Eastern Front, so I got to figure it out.
How simple in terms of mechanics and gaming will you go, or do you get? Like a game like
I'll play Uno,
game like Command and Colors,
as long as it's for money.
Sorry, what are you saying?
I'll play anything. I'll play Uno. Somebody brought up Uno before. I'll play Uno as long as it's for money. I mean, I'll play whatever you want. I'll play anything. There's nothing.
Combat Commander. How do you like that Fog of War?
I don't want to. I don't enjoy Combat Commander. A lot of people do. I don't want to be the wet blanket. I just don't enjoy the game.
You don't enjoy it, it's
fine. Opinion. And I don't want to get. A lot of people like it.
Cool.
A lot of people like it.
It's just respect to Chad.
The Mets.
It's a wonderful game. Bruce and I are just on completely the same page.
There's no.
Dan is performing some kind of sorcery over there.
Yeah, because you're cutting me off, and I'm going to lose my train of thought, and the phone's going to ring, and I don't know what's going on.
What were you saying?
I forgot.
Combat Commander, you said.
No, Mets.
The
Herman Lutman game. Now, Herman is not known to be extremely difficult mechanic-wise.
McFudpucker. Okay, it's good.
What?
Well, we're going to need more players for Fire in the East.
Yes, that stuff showing up.
What's the matter with this guy?
So he's invited.
Okay. What am I saying?
Mets.
You were saying Mets. What about Herman's not known for what?
Herman Lutman tries to streamline his mechanics, the way of going about it, right?
This is right. So, this is America. It's not Canada.
For fuck's sakes.
So he just tried to streamline, and that's fine. He can stream. So here's the thing, right? Herman, who else I like really a lot? I mean, the game designs anyway. I've never met the gentleman. Vance von Voorhees. I like Vance von Voorhees, and he is very similar to Herman. And Dan, as you were bringing up, he's at the chip pull. I really like the way Vance von Voorhees does chip pull, and I like the way Herman Lutman does chip pull. So I think those are, but they're different. Vance has a little more chrome.
That's fair to say.
I played this recently in the past few months. I played Barbaros Armored Group Center. Really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
What did we play? Roads. But something I've played several times. Roads to Leningrad.
Those are great
by Vance von Voorhees. Good
Terrific
stuff.
Games.
Good stuff. But Dan, why do you vehemently oppose Herman Lutman?
I don't.
You should
why
see
do you
him
hate Herman
sucking up
Lutman
to
so
Herman.
much?
He's even asked me to suck up to
him?
Herman when I see him at Origins next week.
Yeah, tell him that Dan demands that he not streamline his mechanics. That's what he was going to say.
I will actually tell him and Mark Walker that. Okay, I totally do that.
Yeah.
Look,
I'll even write it up for you, Dan, and sign your name.
I don't know what to say anymore.
So, I mean, I think that the takeaway from that is there's people that like simple games and people that like complicated games and people who kind of like both. And
what do you like about OCS?
It's all fine.
What do you like about OCS?
I like the puzzle.
Okay.
Right. There's like hundreds of pieces that I'm in charge of at any given time. And this is assuming there's several hundred pieces that somebody else is in charge of. And how can I optimize whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish, whether it's attack or defend or trying to take a particular position or whatever? How can I optimize that to make it work best, given the resources that I have and given my somewhat limited intelligence about what the other guy has?
Okay.
So to me, the appeal of OCS and BCS too, from to some extent, is about that sort of puzzle.
Intelligence here.
Well, Dan, why do you like OCS?
Why do I like OCS? I never played OCS. Don't start with me.
I've threatened several times to duct tape him to a chair at WBC and set him down with Tony Burke.
So I know you know me. I know you read me. You read me. Okay?
What do you? So let's say So let's for Dan. Let's say you're flying to Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah.
But somehow Justin Trudeau demands that your plane be diverted to Portland International Airport, and you're stuck there. And you call me up, and I say, "Yeah, come on. Why don't you come until they resolve this diplomatic incident?
Yes.
I'll go out and get a game.
Yeah.
What game? Let's say I have it or I don't. Doesn't matter. If I don't have it, I'll go buy it. What game would I need to go get?"
That's very interesting. Very interesting. I like that scenario, and I'm thinking about it right now. I'm thinking. I would say.
That's not Vaseline on the camera lens, folks.
I would say, you know what? I want to play a Mark Simonich game.
Okay, that's great. That's perfect. I have all of them. Which one do you want to play?
You know what? Didn't he do one on Casino?
No.
Not yet.
Isn't he doing one on Casino?
Eventually,
he did one on Salerno.
Oh, Salerno. I want to do the Salerno.
Are you familiar with the country of Italy and Sicily and the difference between the two? Because I only found that out recently. I found there's two things. There's an Italy and a Sicily. It's kind of like there's a Mexico and a New Mexico.
You're right.
And the food's different.
So do you want to play Salerno, or do you want to play
Salerno?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because my parents are close to that.
Okay. So there's no gameplay reason. There's no
no. It's historic, and it's what do you call that? It's going to be a bit bittersweet, and it's nostalgic. Yeah. And I like that. And you know what? I'm not going to say I'm going to kick your butt in a game, because I probably won't. And the thing is you're probably like one of those guys that just will sweep me and not even give me a chance to breathe.
Not that good.
You know what I mean? You're not that good. You just beat Mark Herman on his own goddamn game. What are you talking about?
So Mark will always. So I just want to make sure that when Mark listens, if Mark hears about this podcast, that I acknowledge that he won the first game.
Look,
he beat me by taking truck. I was the Japanese. I think I was the Japanese both times. He just went in and smashed me at truck on the first game, and I just was like, okay, all my characters sunk, and I was done. And then we played again, and that's when I beat him. So I'm not that good at games. I'm not terrible, but a lot of these games are high. So I think war games are highly iterative because they're combinatorial, but they're not. They're biased. They have some. Because of the asymmetry of the terrain and the forces, there's often a, min-max thing that you couldn't have done historically, right? But if you just find what the rules allow you to do, like I just come back to the Russian campaign, right? There's this whole idea of the massive Odessa overrun, right? Which is that the rules allow it. You can overrun Odessa, I think on the second impulse. You can do all sorts of things that historically couldn't have happened. And in the fifth, this, by the way, this stuff drives me, because I'm a history guy, right? This stuff drives me crazy. So the fifth edition of GMT's Russian campaign comes out, right? And there's some verbiage in the designer's notes about, well, putting more troops in Romania, or the logistical this, or by doing it, you created the historical prerequisites for the logistical support to be present in Romania, right? But I think the Germans Hitler flat out refused Halder's request to put troops in Hungary, and Hungary didn't join the war until a little later. I mean, it was a few weeks, but it makes difference in the setup. And there was limited numbers of troops that were in Romania, and so you can do all these things because the original game just let you do that. And then the designer's notes say, well, we didn't put these historical limitations on it because you're doing, you made it. You're the commander in chief. You set the conditions, so you must have done something, prior to the game that allowed all this stuff to happen. And there are all these knock-on effects, right? Just say, just say, what? This is a more sandboxy game, and this opens up a lot of things, a lot of strategies that wouldn't necessarily be present if you made it more the Dark Valley-ish, right? Like Ted Racer has very much a more, I don't want to call it scripted history because it seems unfair. And Ted is more along the line. I fight with this stuff too, right? I mean, I feel a lot like Ted does about game flow, that the history part is very important. And I think a lot of Ted's games hew kind of close to the history, although I know that people broke the early parts of Paths of Glory and the Italian thing. Okay, fine. But
Ted's gonna be on next week.
Excellent. Tell him I said hi. So I love Ted's games. I think the Dark Valley is one of them. I love the Dark Valley. I think the Dark Valley is the game that if you want to play, if you want to understand, if you want to know why the Eastern Front works the way the Eastern Front does or did, well, not now anymore. That's a different story. If you want to know about the Eastern Front, then get out the Dark Valley, and you don't have 3 football fields to set up, Army Group North, Center, South, and Typhoon, then because the Advanced Bomb Board, actually, I really like the way Army Group Center plays.
I'd really like to see the rest of that series come back and the other volumes that they were working on.
It's supposedly coming out. I mean, there was a message about how I think North's coming, and North. Yep. And South and Typhoon. There's some that are not going to be reprinted, so I don't think.
Bruce, on a personal note,
yes,
you being extremely busy, because
yes.
I think it's been 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Yes.
I've been trying to get in touch with you, and it's finally I see your beautiful face after 3 goddamn years.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, where do you get time with your busy schedule to play a big game?
I make it. I have this thing.
Someone needs help. How do you make it?
Have you ever heard of the Hand of Vecna?
What?
Okay, so I'm just going to leave that one out there, and people can.
You could proceed with that. Actually,
okay.
I mean,
okay.
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Well, that's because you're not a D&D guy.
Yeah, I have an artifact that makes time, and then I use it. No, so what? I mean, so the fact is that with enough planning, one of the things I have to say about, and I'll expose Dan to the entire world here. When he asks me to be on, he says it like, "Hey, can you be on tonight at 7:30?" I'm like, "No." I mean, and then I'm
it's 4:30, Dan.
Right? And so it's like, this is how. So when people ask me to do things, generally, I mean, they're not work related. My work schedule is set, months in advance. People say, "Hey, I'd like to have a call about this. Here's a week that works. Here's another week that works. Then pick a day, pick a week. First pick a week. Then we'll work on a day. And then if none of the things, but he's always like, "Hey, how about next Tuesday?"
How do you live with yourself? How do you deal with that?
I've already got it. It's already.
You know what they say about people who keep lists?
That they don't lose track of who they ask to be on the show.
People who keep lists, there's something, but there's
I have a calendar. I'm on call. If I'm on call, I can't do this. if I'm working, I can't do this. If I have a day, but those days exist, right? So as long as you get me further enough advanced, but the chance that you're going to get me on any given day, like, hey, tomorrow, the chance that I'm busy tomorrow is very high. The chance that I'm busy in 2 months tomorrow is lower. And if it doesn't work out for that day, just find a way in advance we can do. I am off. I don't work every day, but I'm probably working tomorrow.
I think I called you on Tuesday. I said, "Hey, how about Thursday? Is it good?"
Yeah, that doesn't work.
No, you said it worked, and here we are.
Oh, here. Okay. Yes, exactly.
But we just got lucky.
But you got lucky. I mean, you got super lucky. You got super lucky.
Well,
I was dodging. I was dodging you there for a little bit because
Jesus Christ!
That doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. He's just too persistent.
Jesus Christ!
I try and ghost him. But I keep getting messages, and I have to answer him.
Well, he asked me. He sends me these questions like out of the blue, like, "Hey, what group do you trust the least?" I'm like, probably Canadian musicians.
What the hell is that?
I mean,
I don't know. Sense. You sent me the question. It's in my freaking direct messages. I'll tweet it out to everybody. I don't know, man.
I mean, I think Canadian musicians are pretty unreliable.
Yeah, I'll tell you something.
From my experience.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live. What's that? Lorne Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
He's Canadian. Okay. And
so
if it wasn't for Lorne Michaels, you wouldn't have squat. Okay, I'll tell you that one. And let me tell you something else.
What?
Okay, no matter how much you hate Celine Dion, because my ears, Bruce, are educated. My ears are educated in that field. And she's the greatest technical singer I've ever heard in my life. And that means something.
Fair enough.
Because my ears are educated. That's some of the greatest musicians on earth that play with her, come from Canada. Even Nickelback is a good band. Heart moved from I don't know where.
Heart, yes, Heart, Barracuda,
and they moved to Vancouver, for God's sakes. Yeah. And you said the Guess Who and Rush and Your Mama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you're gonna throw out, comedy there. You said Saturday Night Live, which is it's not that funny. Check out Tim Robinson. Something called "I Think You Should Leave." Okay, write that down.
I think I saw that. It's on Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to check it out.
I don't know who that is. Is he Canadian?
No, he's from Michigan, like me.
Okay. So I'm getting like challenged on the puzzle aspect of OCS here. And no, I mean, to some extent, I'm not a competitive player, but I'm a little more competitive and focused in OCS. Part of it is comfort level with the rules too, right?
Yeah, well, once you know the rules to something, you're right. It's the self-perpetuating thing. How do you know the rules so well? Well, I know them.
Well, because I played a lot of it,
right?
And it was a lot of playing when I didn't know the rules all that well.
But you had to keep playing, right? So the obvious, Leslie has the obvious point here. I mean, his cross-examination would be, you can buy puzzles in the store.
That's true.
Right,
but
and put them together.
Puzzles are not fundamentally a cooperative or social idea or competitive.
Well,
competitive puzzling, I'm not sure if that's a thing.
Oh yeah, competition. Bruce, you're obviously you're a competitive guy in the fun sense. What about like WBC? Don't you go to WBC and try to like kill people or something like and say hi?
No, I get killed. I would get killed
ass.
in WBC. WBC meaning WWE or A or whatever, MMA or something like that. No, it's not. No, it's not me.
MMA.
It's not me. Yeah.
Mixed WBC World Boxing Championship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but
what about chess? What about chess?
I mean, I played chess when I was a kid. It doesn't.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't play it now. I don't.
I'd
rather. I mean, at some point you have limited time, and I wouldn't spend my time playing chess, because there's other stuff that I find interesting. And it's just like the OCS thing, right? You sort of people, and then I've heard the same thing that Gary said is that, I like the game because I can manipulate, I can pull the levers, right? It's like, I finally learned how to drive this freaking thing. And so you can make moves and attacks that in the Russian campaign, you just move the units, right? But in OCS, you have to have the enablers. Which is I think is a term now that I've learned from the Ukraine wars. You have all the enablers, the engineers and the logistics and whatever. And and it's enjoyable to take those things and use them well. And it's an involved system. I have same friend that played Army Group Center with me. We tried the walkthrough of the Smolensk. I think there's an OCS 101 using Smolensk because it's a one mapper.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to do it over Vassal. I think it was early in the pandemic. We were just dying to do something. We want to play games, but we couldn't. There's no in person, so we did the OCS thing. I think I did a Twitter thread about that. Yeah, I mean, I think it just requires a commitment. I play ASL because I already know the rules and I'll never forget them. So it's easy for me to dive into some ASL thing. It's a lot harder to dive, but I've got all the stuff sitting down there, right? I mean, I pulled out Guderian's Blitzkrieg 2 the other day.
Excellent game.
I have it.
Guderian's Blitzkrieg 2?
I think so. I can't see it, but I have it somewhere.
I don't think so.
No, you don't?
Unless I sent you one of my three or four.
It's an MMP game, right?
It's an MMP game.
Yeah, well, I got it.
Yeah, you've got it because so all MMP games aren't the same, because if that were the case, that'd be great if like MMP just sold a box and it was whatever game you wanted and you opened it up and it just turned into that game. That's what they should do. That I think they could do really well with that.
I'm gonna actually put this to go back for just a second here. I'm gonna put this in a musical analogy so that Dan gets it. So Dan, picture for a moment.
Very nice way.
Thank you. You're learning how to play some incredibly intricate guitar piece. Okay.
Right. No problem.
But you never played the guitar before. You're like
that's ridiculous.
You're like a clarinet player or some shit.
That's stupid.
And you don't never play the guitar before, and you're just you get like a couple notes right, and then you hit the wrong note, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and eventually you get four notes in a row in a row, and but then the fifth note you choke on that and hit the wrong notes in the wrong key, or
and you sound like a clarinet player trying to play the guitar.
Right, but then you keep playing, and after long enough, you finally get the fifth note right, and you finally get the sixth note right, and you finally get the seventh note right, and the next thing you know, you're on stage playing Cliffs of Dover in
you're not
Eric Johnson tribute band. Right?
No, you're not.
That's what I'm talking about, and I'm at about 12 to 15 notes right at a time.
Listen, and no, I understand your analogy. Bad analogy. 10,000 hours.
Okay.
10,000 hours.
Maybe. I heard that's a myth.
No, it's not a myth. Bullshit. I did it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You got to put the time in. That's what Bruce said.
Bruce, a stupid scenario here, because
my favorite kind.
Oh, I guarantee.
I hate this. I hate this, but I have to ask you because I'm probably not going to see you or speak to you for the next 20 goddamn years.
At least 20, yeah. At least.
Yeah, for sure.
He can only take small doses.
Dumps me in Portland or wherever.
Right.
If you were to have three systems.
The Canadian Authorities are going to visit Dan tonight, throw a flag on his head, and put him in the luggage car on a train to Portland.
For you, three systems.
Three systems.
You're on a deserted island. What is it?
I just have the systems. Like I just have the rules, and I just like read the rules over and over.
It's only an hour show.
Blind swords. Okay,
that's a Herman Luttman.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? Talking about Herman Luttman.
Yeah.
He's not becoming a heavy hitter. He's all of a sudden a heavy hitter. He's a heavy hitter.
In what sense? Is he playing baseball now? He joined the Quebec Nordiques?
He's very strong.
That's hockey.
He looks
that's
strong.
hockey.
Very muscular, German.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Blind Swords is one.
And so what game and your Blind Swords system?
ASL doesn't count because it's its own thing. I would say the Simonich system, whatever that is, I don't think he doesn't. The great thing about Mark Simonich is he doesn't name his system. Like it's everything is some kind of freaking acronym. Like it's the BCS and the CCS, CWC and the whatever. It's like, and that's the other thing. I mean, and Pat Mullen would get on that case, which is that these systems get made and then they just get shoehorned. Situations get shoehorned into them over and over.
That's been known to happen.
Yeah. So
I got a video covered up about that. Actually.
Yeah, I know. So coming up. Oh, I still watched some stuff with you and Pat.
So you named a Lutman game. I'm not a Lutman game. A Lutman system, a Simonich system. And
ASL, like I said, ASL doesn't count. So, gosh, what would I?
You don't have any time here. You got to choose.
I don't have time. Why? I'm going to a desert island. I mean, I assume I have time to pack. True. I mean, if I have time to choose a game system, then I have time to choose my toothbrush and whatever. System that I like. I like. I mean, it's going to be another chip pool kind of thing. I like the Von Boris kind of stuff, like his Roads to Leningrad or the Barbarossa system, but they're not. Barbarossa is not chip pool, but I like the Roads to Leningrad. Activate the formation, move the formation.
I wish there were a dozen of those. Actually,
this is fun. This is philosophy at its best right now.
Yes, Wittgenstein.
As we get older, and you, Bruce, being the debonair, intelligent man that you are becoming simpler in your choices. You don't want to scratch at the rules, this and that. So you chose a Lutman game, and I'm not belittling her.
No, I know.
And you chose Boris
Boris Karloff, yes.
Yeah, and you chose what the hell else did you choose?
What did I choose?
Oh, Mark Simonich.
Simonich.
These are not complex. Game.
Well, number one, complex to whom? And number two, I'm not sure that, if I lived within, 20 miles of Gary and he was like, hey, let's play OCS like some Saturday, and I played it with him, I would probably play again. I mean, I'll probably enjoy it. I mean, it's some of the stuff is because I just haven't. Right. I don't, the people, I think it was even Gary, from what I gathered from other shows, you have people that you play OCS with, right? I mean, there's like you have a group, right?
Yeah.
So if I had in Europa. So if I had a group,
every once in a while at least.
Right. But I mean, you people that you have around to play. So I mean, if I had people to play, with a system, I mean, systems, I don't know about systems, like, because where do you fit Empire of the Sun, right? Empire of the Sun is that's one of the best designs I think that's ever been made, but it's not a system. It's a design, but because the idea of a system is, here are 12 things that you can play with the same.
I didn't want to say games. I didn't want to say 3 games because I thought it was too constricted.
Too narrow. All right, folks, we are out of time. I'd like to
wait. I just want to ask him one more question.
All right, one more question. Talk fast.
20 years, I'm not going to see him.
All right, talk fast.
What about sci-fi games? Sci-fi games and stuff like that. Like, do you branch out?
I mean, sure. I mean, you'd have to find a game. A Blood Tree Rebellion. There's a game I liked. GW game. I won't. I'll play fantasy games. They have to have I feel like there has to be some mechanical complexity to it. I don't like minis, because a lot of those games devolve into being about the minis rather than being about the game. But there was a weird I'll play that original SPI War of the Ring game with you anytime.
That isn't that Ganitza?
I mean, it's not. You're right. That's not sci-fi. That's just historical, but from a different time that didn't happen, but still kind of historical.
Of course, it happened.
Right.
Of course, it happened.
You're right. It happened somewhere else, just not. It's like in a galaxy far, far away. That's Star Wars happened too.
That happened.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah, I get it. So anyway, so I'll play those games. It has to be once again. Final point. It has to be anchored to something. Right. So there's a game I was just looking at. It was an old Ares magazine, Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I love that. I don't know that I would love it again because I haven't played it since I was like 12, but we love that game. And I specifically like that game because of the historical, right? Again, how historical is Ragnarok? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, but that's an interesting situation. And if it was just, like the Ooga Booga monster fights the something, then I just, I'm out.
Like the creature that ate Sheboygan.
I mean, Sheboygan's not a real place, so I don't.
Right, that's true.
God damn,
that's true. Nobody in the right mind would name a place Sheboygan.
No, it's
ridiculous fantasy. Absolutely lack of believability.
You gotta relax.
All right. So we're going to go relax now, folks, because the show's over. I would like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We had an excellent turnout on our very first Thursday show. We will be back next Thursday. And as Dan has already blown the secret, we should have Ted Racer with us.
It's going to be great. Come see Ted. You should do it.
It's going to be great. Ted doesn't do a lot of interviews either.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
This is all Dan. Dan's done all. I got a couple angles I'm working.
It's going to take you to Ted. Probably like 5 years.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Bruce, you know, I'm joshing you.
I know, of course you are. Okay. I appreciate that. Guys,
the way I like to
see it. A dead dog, Bruce.
Dan's basically full of shit. And if you just view him in that context, everybody loves him. He's our favorite.
He blew up a spaceship, and on Harold Buchanan had him blow up a spaceship. That's what I'll always associate.
Harold Buchanan, wait till I see him. I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Kilroy's kid's gonna punch him out, folks. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Bruce.
Bye.
Big move. Big win. The Bozos lose.